Talking about things to check out, right? Can we talk a little bit about Traplo Ross? Can we talk a little bit about Traplo Ross and what's going on with that guy? He recently sat down with Vlad. I'm not going to play the video because obviously Vlad loves to fucking copyright strike everything and block it. No, not copyright strike. He blocks videos. You can't even react to his videos. He just blocks them straight up. But essentially, Traplo Ross sat down with Vlad TV and they essentially went over Traplo Ross's interaction or altercation with Central C's manager YBs when Central C was out in LA for Complex Con or wherever it was, Las Vegas, LA, wherever the fuck it was. He was out there for Complex Con promoting all his stuff. I think he had the booth where he was showcasing all his collaborations, and then he was talking to academics on live stream, and then Traplo Ross rolled by, said hi to Central C. Central C kind of, you know, awkwardly shook his hand, said it was all cool. It didn't really seem that bothered. But obviously Central C's manager came out of nowhere and basically put it on Traplo Ross and told him to get the fuck out of the booth, and essentially made it very clear that, you know, Central C and his team are not friends, or Central C, his team aren't fucking his friends, don't want anything to do with him. And Traplo Ross used the opportunity to essentially just keep on trolling. He kind of said some comments about Central C being a sweetheart, said something about how he tried to make it seem as if like he got the better of the YB's interaction, and he took a lot of pleasure out of like getting under their skin, getting a reaction from them. He seemed to really enjoy the fact that he's inserted himself into, I guess, Central C's journey, Central C's fucking success, the conversation around him as an artist. He's just really seemed to really take a lot of pleasure in like inserting himself in that regard, because the documentary that he made, which obviously you would imagine probably didn't sit well with Central C's camp. For what I remember watching it, because it's been a while since I watched it, but what I remember when I watched it was that it did feel quite vindictive. It did feel like Central C was Traplo Ross was going out of his way to try to to I guess pour some cold water on Central C's success, to try his best to kind of make it very known that Central C isn't who he is, and kind of took a lot of pleasure in trying to expose or trying to show us what the real Central C looks like, or whatever else it may be. And he did it all with the proviso that Digga D's the realer one. It seemed strange. That's what I got from the documentary. I got from the documentary that he wanted everyone to know that Digga D's the realer one of the two. If you want to support one of them, that's the one that's actually doing what he says he's doing. Central C is actually living a life that's not real. But the funny thing is about it, what I've always kind of thought was interesting, Traplo Ross clearly prefers Digga D over Central C. Maybe he just doesn't like Central C and just uses Digga D as a way to get back at Central C. I don't know. But either way, let's just say he prefers Digga D over Central C. The funny thing is, I don't get the feeling that Digga D even rates Traplo Ross. So even though Digga D doesn't like Central C either, and they don't get along, right? They've got kind of ongoing beef. I don't even think Digga D would be cool to like get down with fucking Traplo Ross, because he's such a neek, innit? He's such a dork. He's such a, you know, whatever, how he comes across. I just don't think he would be down for it. So it's an interesting conundrum. It's an interesting situation that Traplo Ross has got himself in, where he's trying to play favorites, right? He's trying to get himself involved in the narrative. He's trying to insert himself into these storylines with his artists, but neither party really gives a fuck about him like that. And the one that he's trying to kind of like, you know, chummy up to doesn't even want him, you know, doesn't even want him on his side, even if it means dissing the guy that he's in kind of war with. So I find that interesting. So Trench magazine actually spoke about it a little bit, just, you know, overall about Traplo Ross's increasing influence and the fact that he's changing a bit, isn't it? Which is unfortunate, because when Traplo Ross first came on the scene, I really enjoyed what he did, mainly because of the long form documentary nature of what he did. It kind of give it, you know, there was a little bit of a journalistic, you know, weight to it. It seemed like he took a lot of pleasure, a lot of time in really telling the story of what went on behind some of these like gang beefs and rapper beefs and shit. He really tried to add a lot of historical context to it and try to humanize it. He didn't, I don't know, I never got the feeling that he was laughing and cheering along from the sidelines. It wasn't like a Warren Chirac situation. He really tried to make really high quality documentaries, and for the most part he did a good job. Like that King Von one is still fucking really good when you think back to like what he was able to piece together. Obviously, the serial killer angle of it was a little bit excessive, but I think overall, in terms of like telling the story of how King Vaughn came to be and how he met his demise, I thought he did a good way. He did a good job of kind of like knitting all that stuff together. But lately, it seems very obvious that he's kind of changed his ways. He's now being a bit more of a reactionary guy. He's now being a lot more combative. He's now being a lot more incendiary. He's now being a lot more he's being a lot more no jumpery with it, if that makes any sense, right? He's clearly trying to pit people against each other. He's trying to instigate but not instigate. You know, loads of weird stuff like throwing stones, hiding his hands, loads of strange things. Which I guess makes sense because that form of content creation does make a lot of money. It does get you a lot of views. So he's probably getting a lot of notoriety. He's getting very popular out there in the United States. He's almost become like the de facto UK voice for the States as well. So that maybe some of that fame is getting to his head. I don't know. But it's been quite sad to see in general. But let's hear what Trench has been able to put together and how they're presenting it. They said Traplo Ross has overstepped the mark. Let's read. To be truthful, at first I was a fan of Traplo Ross's work. I agree, me too. Big up Yemi Abiadi. Abiadi or Abidi? Abiadi. Big up Yemi. Just to say Yemi. Big up Yemi. To be truthful, at first I was a fan of Traplo Ross's work. Stumbling across a video assessing the rise and fall of Rockefeller Records in the early 2000s, the young YouTuber from Bognor Regis appeared refreshing. With detailed analysis and timely humor, he put a new spin on the old story, and from there, I followed his videos and the beef between Pusha T and Drake, the collapse of the Joe Budden podcast, and even the UK rap and grime scenes pulling up with the Kanye West and the 2015 Brit Awards. But as I write this and scroll through his YouTube channel, the red flags are evident from the start. Yeah, and I think the red flags should be evident from when he covered 6ix9ine. I didn't like his coverage of 6ix9ine. I didn't enjoy that. Like all the eating the cheese, the rat emoji things, doing your hair with the rainbow things, calling him out for not being real. It's like, bro, like I understand 6ix9ine snitched and stuff, but just because somebody snitches doesn't mean you, the regular civilian, have any place to kind of be pointing fingers and calling people snitches. Do you know? Like you would probably do the same, if not worse, in the same position. And just because somebody that lives that lifestyle is deemed to be, that's something people I think forget. If somebody from that, from that walk of life, from the streets, is deemed to be a POSSY, just because they are POSSY amongst other gangsters doesn't mean they're not doesn't mean they're POSSY to you, So I really got a bit put off when he was like going extra hard on 6ix9ine. Only now, however many years later, he's now on stream with him, giggling and kikiing and whatnot. So I found that a little bit weird. But anyway, let's digress. Back to Trench. Over time, Traplo Ross, real name Charles Ross, was chosen to speak on more controversial topics in both the UK and the US rap. Those that often involve physical, legal, or metaphorical beef of all of the above. As his fan base grew, he doubled down, pivoting to what he is now exclusively known for: reports on violence and gang warfare involving rappers from all over the world, which often spill into the music. Whether it's London, New York, Chicago, or Australia, he channels the energies into in-depth timelines of murders, his diss tracks and violent events, and he takes his videos away from analytical to straight up sensationalist, provoking all shades of reactions. Yeah, to be fair, I don't really mind too much of that. I feel like a lot of these guys put a lot of their stuff online anyway. They leave the breadcrumbs for people to fucking pick up and shit and put the story together, so it's not that big of a deal. I just don't like how he's doing the central she stick, because I feel like he is purposely trying to insert himself into drama. He's trying to create drama, insert himself into it, and make himself a part of the storyline. I don't like that side of things. You're not that important. You're really not that important. You never will be in that shape, in that scheme of things, I think. But he's trying to, and he's almost trying to like play a hand at trying to bring someone's career down, which I also don't like. If you don't like somebody, don't like them, but actively going out of your way to try and end their career because they're not as real as somebody else that you prefer, just seems a bit odd to me. Ross's videos on the UK rap scene are particularly puzzling, one of which, titled The Deadly Gang War Behind Central C, attempts to expose the West London rapper as a fraud, an internet gangster with no real street credentials. That currently sits at 1.1 million YouTube views at the time of writing. Meanwhile, his video on the street beats between North London's OFB and N9 bases for Head Day 1 and Tion Wayne respectively has 3.3 million views. So it's clear virality has stemmed almost solely off of the pain of others and the street politics that can unfortunately spill into the bloodshed. It's brought him a level of relevance where he can now rub shoulders with another controversial commentator in DJ Academics and think it's cool to refer to a rapper like Digga D as a demon and the biggest gangster in West London, or double down on calling Sench fake. Now, I don't mind him detailing the war between OFB and N9. I don't mind even him detailing the war between fucking Central C and fucking Digga D and trying to put the pieces together and trying to make sense of it and add context to this and that. But what I don't like is him inserting himself into the stories. That's what I'm starting to see more and more. Like, just even the fucking Complex Con thing with Central C. He seems to be taking great pleasure in the fact that he created a moment. Like, he had like a bit of, he went viral because of that interaction. He seems to take pleasure in referring to Central C as a sweetheart, a cupcake, or whatever he said, mocking YBs. It's like, brother, like, if these guys catch you on your own, you won't be talking like this. So I don't know why you're speaking with such bravado and bass in your voice. Like, it's not even necessary too. You don't even need to be like on some tough guy shit. Just report on what you saw. I don't know. Like, he could have genuinely, because I don't even think his attempt to try and shake Central C's hand or to try and introduce himself and whatever, say hello, I don't even think that was genuine. I think he did all of that for the sole purpose of having a moment because he saw the cameras are there, he went to do something. But if he did want to have a conversation and then he reported on it later, I think that'd been perfectly fine. Imagine he went to Complex. Imagine that didn't happen on camera and he reported after the fact, hey, I tried to say what's up to Central C, but I understand. And even to say what's up to Central C, why say, just think about it actually, why say Wagwan to Central C when you made that documentary? I don't understand it. Like, why should he be cool? Why should he be put in a position where he has to be cool because he did the right thing, Central C, in that moment? If he would have kind of crashed out, he would have looked fucking dumb and it would have come back to bite him and it would have been bad for his image, blah, 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 blah. So Central C was put in a corner where he kind of had to shake fucking, you know, Traplo Ross's fucking hand and be cool with it. Of course, YB doesn't have that obligation because he's not the fucking front-facing star and shit. But still, I thought that was really unnecessary. You know, putting those guys in that position when you know full well they have every reason not to like you because you made a 4-hour documentary essentially calling into question his fucking credibility in a way, not to be dramatic, but basically trying to take away his livelihood. You know, just a bit much. Like, you can say you don't like the music. You can say you don't like the music, you can say you think he's a bit fake or whatever, or he comes across a bit da-da-da-da, but the way that he was trying to say that story on that documentary, it just came across like somebody that was taking a lot of pleasure in trying to be one of the reasons why one of the dominoes fell in the house of fucking Central C. So he could sit back and relax and see it kind of coming, tumbling down, and then maybe he could crown somebody else a new king. I don't know. I found that a bit disgusting. But the other stuff when it comes to just telling the stories about two rival gangs, no problem with it whatsoever. Just don't insert yourself and start talking about, oh yeah, they put numbers on a scoreboard. My God, did you see da-da-da-da? Like, ugh, yuck. Anyway, continuing. Which goes back to the original point. Though he calls himself the hip-hop historian, his videos and stories rarely celebrate the positives of the culture, rather magnifying the sensationalist aspects that will bring him more views and infamy. It's no different to his buddy Academics' infamous War on Chiraq series, making light of the Chicago crime wave, for which he has spectacularly pulled up on by Chicago rapper Vic Mensa a few years back. I wouldn't go that far. I don't think he's doing as bad as what the War on Chiraq was. I just think the last few times I've seen Traplo Ross, he's just doing a bit too much. And this recent Vlad interview is a good example. He's talking from a place of like, I don't know, he's just talking from a place of badness, it feels like. He's trying to act like a tough guy. He's trying to come across condescending and smart. I don't know, I just don't like it. I think he needs to relax. I just don't like it. I think he needs to relax. When it comes to the UK scene, Ross has no interest in reporting the music or in the ecosystem that we've built over the 25 years. That's a good point, by the way. He doesn't really talk about music, does he? But again, would you want to listen to Traplo Ross's opinion on music? Can he even two-step? Can he clap on beat? I don't know. That's a problem. So I think maybe that's the position. Maybe the position that he has now is a position that he should be in. I don't necessarily want him breaking, you know, new records, you know? I don't want him talking about fake mink and that. Allow it. Stay over there, man. It's Ross has no interest in reporting on the musical ecosystem that we built over the last 25 years. Only in passing reference to the emphasis, only passing reference to emphasize a timeline of whatever gang war he's talking about at the time. It shows an obvious and maybe blatant disconnect from the rappers and scene he's profiting from. He exploits the music, people, stories he talks about, point blank period. Yeah, he does, but to be fair to him too, there's also an audience for it. Let's not be unfair. This article did say this the video talking about fucking the deadly gang war behind Central C's on 1.1 million, and the video talking about Headie 1 v Tion Wayne's on fucking 3.9 or something, right? Or 3.3. There's obviously a market for it. There's obviously an audience for it. So we can't blame Trap Lord Ross too much. The fans and the viewers are also, you know, telling him what to produce. That's what you do as a content creator, as a YouTuber. You kind of look at your views, look at your statistics, look at your stats, sorry. And if people are viewing a certain type of your, or certain, you know, genre of your content, you make more of it. Like it's not that shocking, to be honest. Let's see here. What's Trap Lord Ross says Russ and Tion Wayne body is about catching bodies. Let me click this one. What's
Russ and Tion went #1 with Drill. Body Oddy, like the whole song's a metaphor for catching bodies. It's about girls and it's about murdering people. Body Oddy, like it's a smart song.
Catching
no,
bodies.
But you know what I'm saying?
Where they talk about catching bodies?
No, but it's a drill song. The song is a metaphor. It's like they're talking about two things at the same time. They're talking about catching bodies.
Metaphor? Well, where did they talk about catching bodies though?
No, but it's a metaphor. The song is called Body. It's about it's body. It's a metaphor. They ain't saying we're catching bodies. I'm saying the song itself is a metaphor for drill. The guys are feeling it. The guys are feeling it.
But why does your brain automatically think that they're talking about catching bodies?
Bro, that's what drill's about. Drill's about
no,
bodies.
Hold on.
I'm
talking about that specific song though. If they're saying body or these shaped like cola, what's that got to do with murder?
But a body is a murder.
No, a body is a body's not a murder. A body's not a murder.
We're gonna have two meetings. It's a double.
No.
This is some Jay-Z shit. This is why the song was so good, because it flew under the radar. It's just about.
Man, shall I tell you the honest, God's honest truth, the GOAT's honest truth, yeah, bro? You've been radicalized, my boy, man. Like you spent too much hours researching murder, yeah, that you associate everything to murder.
No, hold on, Billy. He might have a point. Cool. What bar or who told you that it's a double entendre for that? What bar made you think it is?
The fourth line of the chorus.
Yeah.
What you want to get? Smoke cigarette? He's not talking about a cigarette. He's not saying what you want to get smoked like a cigarette. He's talking about you want to get smoked like smoked. Body oddy.
Okay.
So you think the whole song's a metaphor and the body is
when Russ says Python hit him with a cobra, he's not going Ty from the Wild. He's talking about hitting with a cobra. Python hit him with a cobra.
Okay. I've got a question.
Badman persona.
There's a lot of songs where people don't stick to one concept. Don't you think? Couldn't it be a possibility that this is that? It's a double
entendre.
Yeah, he's tapped, man. He's fucking tapped. If you listen to that song, Body, then you'd know that is a fucking reach and a half. He's fucking tapped. You could argue that it's not that deep. It's simply reporting the facts of the situation, and these rappers should bear responsibility for their actions. But the act of reporting them and success of Ross has been seen as a result has no value. Not only are they inaccurate, as a UK content creator C. Valentina pointed out, analysing that his own Reddit fan base finds flaws in the factual statements he makes, they're destructive. When you report on these rappers' alleged or factual affiliations and the violence and trauma these have brought about, that does nothing for their careers. It doesn't represent the true nature of their culture over here. In fact, it takes away from the richness and nuances that they make us so great. Now, this I understand, but I also think they put in too much power and weight on Trap Lord Ross. I think if there are artists out there and all they do is talk about badness, all they do is talk about street stuff, all they do is talk about drillings, all they do is talk about sliding on their ops, all they do is talk about fucking putting up numbers, bodies, scoreboard this, scoreboard that, then that's all people are going to talk about. If that's all you're putting out there. If you're trying to change your image, if you're trying to put out a certain message, if you're trying to make your whatever all about the music, and then he's only reporting on the other shit you used to do, then you got every reason to complain. But I think a lot of these people that he does report on, a lot of their, relevance is kind of based upon how bad they are. how much of a goon they are, how much of a gangster they are. So I don't think it's a bad thing that he reports on it. It's just annoying that he's one of the bigger voices, you know, garners a lot of the attention and shit. So it kind of makes it seem that that's all it's about. But if you really are into the music, you're really curious, you're really trying to get invested, you're really trying to be a part of the scene, you're gonna know that that's not the case. You know, you're gonna do your due diligence, you're gonna do your homework and shit. By the way, I wonder if this is all written with ChatGPT. Is that why I'm struggling to read it? Because all these fucking these big dashes and shit, those are usually a good indication that this stuff's written with fucking AI and whatnot, innit? Anyway, well, let's continue. Trap Lord Ross doesn't prop up the people involved, he says, nor does he stimulate the scene in any meaningful way. But to be fair, which content creators do, you know? There's not a lot of people that do stimulate the scene in a fucking meaningful way. We're all just out here fucking reporting on slop, putting out slop. You know what I mean? Just trying to slop our way out of this shit in our own little slop corner. To be fair, no one's really doing anything meaningful. If we're gonna be honest, the only people really doing anything meaningful are the people that create the music, are the people that create the events. Maybe some of the people that have the pages and shit. Those are people, or people doing the IRL events, like the festivals, like the fucking gigs and shit, the raves, the fucking cruises. Those are people that are actually putting out good shit. But the rest of us are just like sloppers, you know? We're out here fucking mass producing slop content. Trap Lord Ross doesn't prop up the people involved, nor does he stimulate the scene in a meaningful way. He hit a lick for himself and himself only, a carrot he can wave around when he's chilling with DJ Academics and 6ix9ine, who fundamentally don't respect what we built over here. But to be fair, I don't think he tries to act like he's trying. He never really talks about him trying to lift up the UK culture or represent it in any way, shape or form. He represents himself. He himself is interested in the UK culture and he kind of speaks about it, but I don't necessarily think he's trying to be a part of the industry and fly the flag. He's just doing his own thing, isn't it? I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing either. It's just what he does. And what we need is different. We need other people coming in who want to maybe prop up the scene, who want to maybe shine a light on a certain subsect of the industry or the genre, or artists who haven't maybe been gotten, you know, that much of attention. And then they want to maybe use their platform to kind of wave the flag all around the world. That's fucking cool. But I don't think he has to. I don't think he wants to. I don't think he tries to, which I don't think is a bad thing. It continues. Rather than trying to educate those unfamiliar like Academics and 6ix9ine, he stands gleefully while they continue to disrespect our talent. Again, that's not his role. He shouldn't have to do that. Just because he's the one that busts through, that's out there, he shouldn't be required to tell people about our scene and educate. That's not his role. That's not his role. And I think that's okay. That's not his role. But I could be wrong. He plays into their hands of approval at our expense. He spews out worrying tropes and stereotypes that are becoming more dangerous by the day, and he seemingly enjoys it. Now, other onlookers looking to follow in his footsteps are likely to employ the same tactics, further diluting the concept of the genuine reporting of the scene. It will become even more of a rat race for views, exposure, and clicks rather than putting out content and love for the culture. By the way, make no mistake, right? Make no mistake. That's not happening unless the person's white. There's no way somebody else is going to come up and do the same thing Trap Lord Ross does unless they're white. If replace Trap Lord Ross or Tanks, just imagine this scenario. Imagine that fucking run-in that Trap Lord Ross had with Central C at fucking Complex Con. Now replace Trap Lord Ross with Tanks. Replace Trap Lord Ross with, I don't know, what's his fucking face? Billy the Goat or whatever else. They're going to be putting hands and feet on him. Trap Lord Ross is very lucky, very fortunate. He looks and sounds and carries himself the way that he does. So I think it allows him certain blighs, you know? He gets let off on certain things. But I think if Trap Lord Ross looked like Tanks, I don't think he does as well, you know? I think the pressure would have been put on him way before he would have got a good talking to. He would have got, you know, he would have got gripped up in certain places. It would have been made very clear to him that he should not continue in this fashion. So, and that's one of those weird kind of like white privileges things that you can kind of get away with in the scene that way. What's this? This is a quote tweet from, who's this? Joseph J.P. Patterson. Trap Lord Ross doesn't represent anything to do with black music or in media. I need everyone to understand this. Guests of the culture need to know their place. Yeah, I wouldn't go that far. I'm not going to go with the whole, like, because he's white, he doesn't deserve a place in media. I'm sure this guy, he works in media too. He probably has a ton of media people that he's friends with that are white, who do good bits in media too. I don't think that's fair to say that. I just think it's unfortunate that him being in the place that he's in, instead of, you know, trying to uplift, trying to spread the gospel, trying to spread the word, trying to shine a light on popping sick new artists and shit, trying to educate others about what we've got going on. He's just, you know, doing a Poetic Flocko, but here, you know, that's an unfortunate thing. But again, it's his content. He's free to do exactly what he wants with what he wants to do with it. Anyway, last paragraph. Trapper Ross isn't a sensationalist, isn't the first sensation to touch the roads. He won't be the last. But he's not even on the roads, to be fair. He's not even on the roads, let's be fair. But as somebody who claims to be a historian, he's on him to display this subject of all of its facets. But again, he was a historian. He's not anymore. Especially when you consider just how prevalent the gang culture is. If you don't get to make light of it, no matter what the demand of your type of content is, this saga will no doubt spark debate about the kind of character the scene lets in, and whether guests of the culture should know their place. I don't like how that sounds. Because reverse the roles, or have somebody go into a white space, somebody say that about us, we're going to be fucking rioting in the streets. I don't like how that sounds. I think everybody should be allowed in, as long as you got passion, as long as you got fucking interest in what you want to take part in the scene, you love it, you want to spread the gospel, you want to be, add to it and shit, you want to fucking leave your mark, whatever else it may be. I think everyone should be open. Everyone should be welcome to open arms, as long as you got a good heart, good intentions, all that fucking good shit. I don't think we should be discriminating people based on their race and shit, or say, oh, because you're white, you don't have a place. Oh. I think that's a madness. Because if the roles were reversed, we wouldn't like it. If we went into the metal world and say that they started telling us about knowing your place, about you're a guest and shit, that would sound nuts. You know what I mean? That would sound nuts. So I'm not really for that sort of stuff, but I get it. Trapper Ross does get on people's nerves, so I get why they're saying that. This saga will no doubt spark debate about the kind of characters the scene lets in, and whether the guests of the culture should know their place. As a guest, being respectful is paramount. In the case of Trapper Ross, he has been allowed to profit off of black pain for entirely too long, using his privilege to access certain circles and throw it back in our faces. He needs to reassess what he really does all for this for, and what brought him to the point in the first place, because it wasn't and it isn't for us. Again, I don't think he's in it for us. He's in it for himself, which is okay. I just would rather he stop with the antagonizing, stop with the fucking gaslight, stop with the fucking provoking, stop with the instigating, stop with the inserting himself in the narratives, in the storylines. You're not that important. You're not part of the story. Just report on what you see, comment on what you see, and keep it pushing. You don't need to insert yourself in, make these fucking things, pit people against each other. I don't like it. I think it's fucking shitty. If anything as well, he's kind of pitting. I know they're already warring, but he's kind of instigating this thing between Central C and Digga D a little bit. Oh, always emphasizing how much Digga D's the realer one and Central C's the fake. And anyway, whatever. Big up Trench though. Good article. Big up Trench. Interested to see if Trapper Ross does reply to this himself. I'll be curious to see if Trapper Ross ends up replying to this article himself at some point. I'll be curious to see if that happens.